Chapter 31 The War Beast Suddenly Goes Crazy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lai Yinxiong's reaction shocked everyone. Rongui, the person in charge of the arena, suddenly realized something and immediately reacted and shouted to the people around him, "No, it's going to destroy the power grid, stop it quickly." At this moment, the power grid collapsed because Lai Yinxiong kept pressing the eyeside wolf's body upwards, and finally couldn't bear it anymore. Xin Ya, who had been lying in the middle of the upper floor on the fence of the VIP seats, was too close to the power grid. After the power grid collapsed, she accidentally fell out. Guangling and Qianjun reacted and immediately rushed over to catch her, but it was too late. Xin Ya was stunned for a moment as she suddenly fell, then she reacted and immediately used the flying skill of her right leg bone to take off. They both breathed a sigh of relief when they saw she didn't fall. At this time, more than a dozen Soul Master Guards rushed out and attacked Lion Bear, but everyone found that Lion Bear seemed to be crazy and possessed. The eyeside wolf had been stunned by the electric current, and Lion Xiong slammed the wolf body towards the Soul Master Guard who was attacking him. It used the eyeside wolf to block the attack, and then rushed towards Xin Ya who had just taken off. As soon as the little girl took off, she saw a big bear with red eyes running towards her and stretching out its huge bear paw. Xin Ya. Xiao Ya. Guangling immediately called out the Wuhuan Divine Bow, while Qianjun also called out the Coiling Dragon Stick and rushed forward. Just as the huge bear's paw was about to hit her, Xin Ya's eyes suddenly changed, her black hair instantly turned silver-white, and at the same time 2 10,000-year soul rings rose from her feet. At the same time as he opened the realm of the god of death, a 2-meter-long bloody giant sword suddenly stood in front of Xin Ya with a sharp killing aura. Everyone in the arena was shocked when they saw the 10,000-year 1 or 2 soul rings on the little girl and the bloody giant sword. And Lion Bear's huge bear paw was instantly shaken away when it touched the bloody giant sword. The dark golden glazed magic patterns on the sword kept flashing, and Lion Bear seemed to be stimulated by something. He suddenly held the bear's head and roared in pain. Suddenly, the giant sword stabbed toward Lai Yinxiong's head, and the sword penetrated him. In an instant, the huge bear fell backwards, and its eyes, which were as silent as death, had become dim. The scene just now happened in the blink of an eye, and no one present could react. The bloody giant sword disappeared and Xin Ya returned to her original appearance. Suddenly her eyelids felt heavy. She closed her eyes and fainted. Guangling immediately put away the divine bow, stretched out the ice wings on his back and quickly flew into the air, steadily catching the little girl's falling body. After holding Xin Ya and flying to the ground, Guangling called nervously, "Xiao Ya, Xiao Ya." At this time, Qianjun and the arena leader Rongui rushed to the two of them with the doctor. Rongui immediately said to the doctor, "Quick, let's see how the little girl is doing." The doctor nodded. Not long after, the doctor finished the examination. Guangling grabbed the doctor's arm and said, "How is she?" The doctor was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat and said tremblingly, "Wu. Don't worry, Wu. The little girl is fine. She just fainted from exhaustion of her soul power. She will be fine after a few days of rest." Guangling glared at Rongui with displeasure. "You can't escape the blame for my people getting into trouble at your place. After handling the matter here, go to the military headquarters to receive the punishment yourself." "Yes." Rongui responded with a trembling voice, then immediately turned around and ordered his subordinates to deal with emergencies at the scene. Guangling picked up Xin Ya and looked at Qianjun. "Lao Lu, go and investigate why the bear suddenly went crazy. I'll take Xiao Ya back and come back later." Qianjun nodded, "Okay." He looked at the back of his fifth brother leaving and smiled. It turns out that the fifth brother, who has always been arrogant and playful, also has such a serious look. "Are you really attracted to that little girl?" 5 small worship halls. When Manager Chen saw his master coming in with the unconscious Miss Xin Ya in his arms, he was startled and immediately went to greet her. "Why was it that everything was fine when I went out, but when I came back, I was like this?" Guangling carried Xin Ya all the way to the room. He gently put the little girl on the bed, pulled the quilt next to her and covered her, and looked at the person lying on the bed with a pair of ice-blue eyes without blinking. Manager Chen stood aside and watched, not daring to speak. Guangling reached out and brushed away the broken hair stuck to the little girl's forehead. Ever since the cloud-splitting bear attacked Xin Ya, his heart had never been at peace. It was also at that moment that he truly understood his heart. This little thing really lived in his heart. Guangling turned his head and glanced at Manager Chen with disgust. "Get out." Manager Chen nodded and immediately ran out as if running away. After the rest of the crowd left, Guangling took Xin Ya's little hand, put it to her thin lips and kissed it. He stayed with her in the room for a while. Before he was about to leave, he leaned down and placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. After that, he got up and left the room. After going out, he asked the maid guarding the door to take care of him. Then turned around and left the small hall, heading towards the camp arena. Inside the arena, because something happened, all the people watching had left except for the people in the arena. Qian Jun was in the battle arena, checking on the dead lion bear. On the other side, the injured eyesight wolf was lying on the ground, making a pitiful growl, and the veterinarian was treating it. After all, it is a war beast. It cost a lot of soul coins to capture it and tame it, so as long as it is not dead, we will try our best to treat it. But if a war beast hurts people, like the lion bear, even if Xin Ya didn't kill it at the time, the arena will deal with it according to the rules later. At this time, Guangling walked in from outside. He came to Qian Jun and asked, "How is the investigation going?" Qian Jun said, "I just asked some spectators who were closer to the bear. They said that they were quite normal at the beginning. Suddenly, the bear's eyes turned blood red and started to go crazy. There was another spectator who saw it more clearly. He said that he saw the bear looking at our VIP seats in the middle of the upper floor, and then the bear's eyes began to slowly turn blood red." Guangling frowned. "Did it really look at our VIP seats?" Qianjun nodded. "Yes," the audience said he was sure. Guangling touched his chin and thought, and suddenly he thought of something, and said with wide eyes, "Xiaoya." It was Xiaoya. Qianjun also reacted. "You mean Xiaoya ran to the fence at that time, and the bear was looking at her?" "It's very likely." Guangling said, and after the power grid collapsed, Xiaoya fell down and the Soul Master Guards were dispatched, but the bear still attacked Xiaoya first. So, the reason why it suddenly went crazy was Xiaoya? Qianjun was puzzled. But Xiaoya didn't do anything. Why did the bear suddenly attack her? The second round of PK starts today, which lasts for 4 days. Babies, please bless me to pass it smoothly and advance to the third round. PK is a total of 4 rounds. If you pass all of them, this book will hopefully continue. Please. Also, babies who vote for me every day, thank you very much, moi. Chapter 32, Shura Bloodline shows signs of awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guangling thought for a moment and said, "I guess there was something on Xiaoya's body that caught the bear's attention. Xiaoya hasn't woken up yet. I'll ask her when she wakes up." Qianjun nodded. At this time, a guard walked towards the two of them and said respectfully, "I have met these 2 adults." Qianjun asked, "What's the matter?" The guard said, "I would like to ask you 2 to come to the enshrinement hall." Guangling said looked at Qianjun and said, "I guess the eldest brother knows what happened here, so he asked us about the situation. Let's go." Qianjun nodded. The 2 left the arena and walked towards the worship hall. Other side, 5 worship halls. Inside the room, Xin Ya, who was lying on the bed, did not wake up, but her consciousness was called into a red void space. God Shura looked at her and said, "I didn't expect you, a little girl, to be so blessed. In the 3rd test of the talent test, you would show signs of awakening the Shura bloodline." "A Shura bloodline," Xin Ya frowned. "What is that?" "I'm going to become your child, God Shura." "Why does this little girl have such special ideas?" "A Shura bloodline does not mean becoming my child. But I can't tell you what a Shura bloodline is yet. But what I can tell you in advance is that awakening the Ashura bloodline is the last part of your Ashura test. That's something you have to understand on your own, and only when you truly awaken the Shura bloodline will you be qualified to become the true heir to the Shura God's mansion." Xin Ya understood, then he asked, "Then my fainting today was also caused by the signs of awakening of the Shura bloodline? Also, why is the magic pattern on the sword of the divine sword shining brightly today?" God Shura nodded. "That's a sign of awakening, but your current low soul power level can't bear the awakening of the Shura bloodline, so you fainted due to exhaustion of soul power. I think you showed signs of awakening today when your life was threatened. If I'm not wrong, have you already understood the meaning of the unity of yourself and the Shura divine sword? Xin Ya recalled that when she was in the killing city, the system did prompt her to understand the secret of the unity of man and sword. She nodded immediately. Yes. It was when I participated in the hundreds of hell-killing fields in the killing city that I truly reached the state of the unity of man and sword. God Shura said with great appreciation, that's right. The prerequisite for awakening the Shura bloodline is to be able to realize the fusion of oneself and the Shura divine sword. I didn't expect you to have done it when you were in the killing city. Now I finally understand why Shura divine sword chose you in the first place. Xin Ya chuckled and said, Lord Shura God, you can praise me openly in the future, you don't have to praise me in such a roundabout way. She thought, this young lady has a system of comprehension that defies heaven, how could she be so poor in comprehension? After hearing the little girl's words, a smile appeared on God Shura's rare serious face. Okay, you should practice hard, I will wait for you to grow up so that you can take over my position as the god. As soon as the words fell, Shura God disappeared on the spot. Xin Ya's consciousness exited the red void space, returned to her mind and shouted, System Lord, are you there? System, is there something wrong with the host? God Shura said that I have signs of awakening of the Shura bloodline. Is it because I have an incomprehensible understanding? System, yes, but because the host's current soul power level is low, and according to what this system has learned, if you want to fully awaken the Shura bloodline, your soul power level must reach level 100. System, because the Shura bloodline is the power given by the God of creation to the God of Shura, once awakened, the divine power is very huge, and those who have not reached level 100 cannot bear it. System, on the contrary, when your soul power reaches level 100, it will be very simple for you to fully awaken the Shura bloodline with this system. I see. Xin Ya smiled extremely happily, System Lord, you are really my lucky star. If only you had a physical body, I could give you a big hug. System, suddenly, Xin Ya's consciousness was forced out of her mind by System Lord. What? System Lord is so shy. He kicked me out of my consciousness just because I wanted to give him a hug. He is such an innocent system boy. The little girl woke up in bed and stared at the ceiling with her big, watery eyes. At this time, the doors suddenly opened. Guangling walked in and finally felt relieved when he saw that Xin Ya was awake. Sitting on the edge of the bed, he asked softly, Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? Xin Ya shook her head. Guangling helped her sit up and leaned against the bedside, while saying, I just conducted an investigation in the arena with Lao Lu. We found out that the bears suddenly went crazy because of you, and it only attacked you at that time. Do you know the reason yourself? Xin Ya thought for a while, I don't know the specific reason, but there is something strange. When the big bear suddenly roared, the right leg soul bone of the wolf thief king flashed a strong light. Guangling thought for a moment and said, in that case, the bear's attack on you might have something to do with that soul bone. Xin Ya frowned, but, we got that soul bone from the wolf thief king, unless that soul bone is not from the wolf thief king, but from that big bear. After she finished speaking, she felt something was wrong again. If it was the big bear, then it would still be alive. How could the soul bone automatically detach from a living soul beast? This doesn't make sense. Guangling thought for a moment and said, there is another possibility, that the soul bone itself is not from the wolf thief king. Wolf thieves are a combination of half-human and half-soul beast. They have the part of soul beasts, so they can produce soul rings, and they also have the part of humans, so they can also obtain the soul bones of other soul beasts and absorb them into their bodies. The soul bone of the wolf thief king is likely to be from the lion bear clan, so the bear you saw today can sense that the soul bone of its own people is on you, so it will attack you. Xin Ya thought about it and felt that this speculation was quite reasonable, but the big bear was already dead, and there was no way to investigate everything. Suddenly, she remembered the bet, so she asked again, so who lost in the end, the bear or the wolf? Guangling smiled and said, it must be the wolf who lost. It was caught by the bear and pressed against the electric net. Even if you hadn't been involved, the wolf couldn't have turned defeat into victory, so the arena ruled that the bear won. Hearing that the arena finally ruled that the bear won, the little girl immediately stretched out her hand in front of the man. I bet on the bear to win at that time. Where are the soul coins I won? Give them to me. Guangling smiled cunningly. Before I went, I said I would pay for the soul coins and I would pay if I lost, but I didn't say that I would give you the soul coins if I won. Xin Ya's eyes widened instantly and stared at him angrily. This man is really a rogue. Please vote, please support. Chapter 33. Don't you want a financial sponsor? I can be one. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guangling looked at the little girl's angry face with a smile. Sometimes he doesn't understand why, but he just likes to tease her and bully her. He thought it was so cute when he saw her acting out her temper when she was angry. The man reached out to pinch her swollen cheeks. The little girl angrily slapped his big hand away, but he grabbed her little hand instead. She wanted to withdraw her hand and said angrily, "Let go." Guangling not only refused to let go, but also pulled her into his arms and leaned close to her. You don't have to worry about food and clothing when I'm here. Why do you need so many soul coins? Xin Ya rolled her eyes at him. With such a good thing as soul coins, would anyone find it too much? What's more, with the soul coin, I can eat well and be a salted fish in the future. Guangling frowned. Salted fish? Xin Ya explained. You don't have to worry about not having soul coins, and you don't have to do anything and just lie down and take responsibility. Occasionally, turn yourself over and bask in the sun. That's a salty life. After hearing her explanation, Guangling couldn't help laughing. So last time in the kitchen, you said you wanted Qianjun to be the father of the financial sponsor, just to be a salted fish? Xin Ya snorted. Yeah, why, can't you? Guangling smiled. Of course. In terms of conditions, Lao Lu is quite qualified, but did you know that he has a biological brother who can conquer demons? That guy likes Huohua soul coins, and he is perverse and frivolous. If Qianjun were your sponsor's father, you would have to deal with a demon, but you may not be able to be a salted fish. Xin Ya thought about it and felt that what Guangling said made sense. At that time, I really forgot that Qianjun and Jianma were brothers. This man who is controlled by his younger brother or younger sister is indeed quite troublesome. But now in front of this arrogant monster, she didn't want to agree with him, lest he become proud. Xin Ya raised her chin and hummed, so what? What exactly do you want to say? Guangling looked into her eyes seriously and said softly, I want to say that I also agree with the financial sponsor father you mentioned. In terms of wealth, I have more wealth than that guy Lao Lu, and I don't have any brothers. In terms of strength, I am also a peak level 96 Douluo. As the fifth priest of Wuhuan Palace, my status is a little higher than that of Lao Lu. Don't you want a wealthy father who is as delicious as salted fish? I can be the one. Xin Ya glanced at him and said bluntly, you are such a tsundra with a bad temper, I don't want you to be my sponsor father. After hearing her reject so directly, she also called him a tsundra with a bad temper. Guangling took her hand and pulled her in front of him, threatening, whether you want it or not, if you want the sponsor dad, it can only be me. Don't even think about my brothers. They don't dare to say anything to me. As for the others, whoever dares to be your sponsor father, I will kill him. You. The little girl's chest was so angry that she bit her lower lip and stared at Guangling. The man saw her biting her lip again, and reached out to pinch her cheeks to prevent her from biting her. Xin Ya knew that he wanted to pinch her cheek again, so she quickly bit the tiger's mouth of his outstretched hand. Guangling hissed, but he didn't hide or move. Instead, while enduring the pain and watching the little girl bite his hand, he reached out to rub her hair and comforted her. Have you vented enough? Are you still angry? Xin Ya let go of his hand, got out of bed and pulled him up to the door. Open the door and push him out. Let's go. I don't want to talk to you anymore, I want to rest. After saying that, the little girl closed the door with a bang. This was the first time that Guangling was pushed out of the door like this, but he was not angry, because that little thing was the one he liked. Manager Chen came over and wanted to ask if he wanted the kitchen to cook something to eat. When Miss Xin Ya woke up, unexpectedly, he happened to see his master being pushed out of the door. He immediately stood aside and did not dare to speak. Guangling turned around and stared at Manager Chen with sharp eyes. Manager Chen immediately shook his head and said, Master, I didn't see anything. Tell the kitchen to cook some of Xiaoya's favorite dishes. After saying that, Guangling walked away and walked out of the palace. Inside the room, Xin Ya was lying on the bed, thinking about what Guangling had just said. She felt that she really had to leave. She couldn't stay in this Wuhuan palace anymore. This tsundere was so abominable. At this moment, there was the sound of stones hitting the glass window. Xin Ya got up and got out of bed in confusion and walked towards the window. She opened the glass window and looked out, seeing Qianjun standing on the branch of a big tree next to her window. Xin Ya couldn't help laughing and said, Why don't you come in through the front door? Qianjun jumped onto the window sill, entered the room and said, Forget it. I said I wanted to come see you, but fifth brother didn't even let me in. Xin Ya asked in confusion, Why didn't he let you in? Qianjun sat on the sofa and said with a helpless smile, It's more about sex than friends. You're talking about sex, can't it be me? The little girl frowned and looked at him. Qianjun couldn't stop laughing and asked, If it's not you, could it be me? Xin Ya doesn't think she is that sexy, because Guangling always bullies her. She thinks that him not letting Qianjun come in to see her is just a way of bullying her. She sat next to Qianjun and asked, I told you in the arena this morning that I wanted to leave. Can you help me? Qianjun asked, Why do you have to leave? Isn't it good here? Xin Ya lowered her eyes, It's not bad, I just want to go out and have a look. I haven't seen it anywhere else yet. Qianjun smiled and said, If you just want to have fun, just tell fifth brother and he will accompany you. The little girl shook her head and protested, I don't want him to accompany me. He always criticizes me, scolds me, and bullies me. I'm going to be pissed to death if I stay with him. Qianjun glanced at her and asked, Actually, have you ever thought about why fifth brother likes to bully you? Xin Ya said without hesitation, I feel like I'm angry but I can't beat him. Looking at my helpless look, I think it's fun and fresh. He's like that. Wrong. Qianjun said disapprovingly, although fifth brother is usually a bit arrogant and playful, and not too serious, he has never been interested in girls. According to what I have known about him for many years, if the girl is not what he likes, let alone the girl who bullies him, he will not even look at her. He doesn't even bother to look at her. The girl you like? Xin Ya frowned and said, You mean he likes me, so he often bullies me? Qianjun looked at her and nodded seriously. Impossible. The little girl denied it directly, I don't believe it. He is very arrogant and relies on the fact that he is the pinnacle Douluo, and I am just a little soul master. I can't beat him, and I can't do anything to him. I can just let him make it round and flatten. He thinks it's fun, and it can add a lot of fun to his boring cultivation life. Chapter 34 Leaving. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qianjun raised his eyebrows after hearing Xin Ya's words. He thought, Fifth brother, how hard did you bully this little girl? Now the little girl imagines you as such a boring person, and she doesn't believe that you like her and are not really bullying her. As a brother, I have helped everything I can, and I have reminded you of those who should be reminded. But the little girl doesn't believe it, so I can't help. Maybe if Xin Ya is really allowed to leave, fifth brother will really start to get nervous. If that's the case, it would be a good thing to let her go. Qianjun asked Xin Ya, Then when do you plan to leave? I can help you. 3 days later. Xin Ya thought for a while, I owe him a gold soul coin. Please wait until I leave to help me pay it back to him. If I pay it back now, he will definitely become suspicious. And help me get the deed of betrayal back, just burn it. I'll write you an IOU if I lend you the gold soul coin, and I'll pay it back to you later. Qianjun held the edge of the sofa with one hand, suddenly approached her, and whispered, Can I not need the IOU, but also the deed of sale? Xin Ya raised her eyes to look at him. Qianjun's words made her stunned. At that moment, she recalled that when she wrote the contract of sale to Guangling, she didn't feel any conflict in her heart, but now if she is asked to write to Qianjun, she is very resistant. Why? She had wanted Qianjun to be the benefactor's father before, so why would she resist a contract of prostitution now? Is it because Tianjun is not Guangling? The little girl started not to understand herself. Suddenly, she felt that Tianjun was getting too close, so she pushed him away slightly and said, "Forget about the contract of betrayal, let's just take the IOU." Tianjun saw her resistance to his approach, smiled, sat back on the sofa, and said, "Okay, then IOU." Xin Ya thought that after leaving here, she would need soul coins for food, clothing, housing and transportation. She had already borrowed them anyway, so she might as well borrow more. She asked quietly, "Can I borrow more?" Tianjun nodded, "Of course. Actually, you don't have to write me an IOU. I can just give you the soul coins directly. I'm not that far behind." Xin Ya lowered her eyes and said, "No, we still have to sort out the accounts." After saying this, she stood up, walked to the table, sat down, picked up the pen on the table and started writing the IOU. After finishing writing, Xin Ya handed the IOU to Tianjun. Tianjun took it, folded it and put it away without looking at it, then took out a bag of gold soul coins from the storage soul guide and put it on the table. "In 3 days, you find a way to get to the racecourse, and I will arrange for someone to help you leave." Xin Ya nodded, "Thank you." Tianjun looked at her and smiled, stretched out his big hand to cover the little girl's head and rubbed it, then walked towards the window, jumped up and left the room. Xin Ya picked up the bag of soul coins on the table, opened it and was shocked, 50 gold soul coins. But her IOU only stated that she would borrow 10 gold soul coins, and these 50, forget it, just pay back 50 when the time comes. And she remembered that these 50 gold soul coins could actually be used as small soul coins, but Tianjun didn't use it. Instead, he found it for the purpose of making it easier for her to use. Because it is a small soul coin card, it is difficult to find and open it when buying things from small vendors. Xin Ya smiled and said, "Tianjun is indeed quite considerate when doing things, unlike a certain man, After complaining about someone, she put the bag of gold soul coins into the system space. The next 3 days, Xin Ya ignored Guangling and returned to the way she was before going to the arena. She would avoid him or grumble at him when she saw him. Guangling was helpless. Several times, he deliberately blocked her in the dining room and coaxed her to watch the battle between beasts. Xin Ya directly refused no and then left quickly without giving him a chance to pull her away. 3 days later, on this day, Guangling went out early in the morning, because something happened to the army's cavalry. He was responsible for the cavalry and archery departments, so he had to deal with it. Just after he left, something happened one after another in the small hall, which made Manager Chen a little unable to cope with it. After Xin Ya knew that both of them were busy, she knew in her heart that it was time for her to leave. She immediately changed her clothes and left the room. The maid guarding the door asked, "Where does Miss Xin Ya want to go?" Xin Ya said, "I want to go to the horse farm in Dang to see the ponies." After saying this, she turned around and walked out of the small hall. The maid immediately followed her. Mr. Wu Zhangfang has explained before that Miss Xin Ya is moving within the scope of Wuhuan City. She only needs to follow and there is no need to stop her. After a while, the two of them passed the inspection and registration at the gate of the camp and walked towards the racecourse. Xin Ya looked around as she walked. She didn't know how Tianjuan's people would show up and take her away, so she could only keep observing her surroundings. But until she came to the racecourse, she didn't see anyone in particular giving her any signal. In the racecourse, Bob was sitting under a big tree drinking tea and enjoying the cool air. When he saw Xin Ya walking towards us not far away, he immediately stood up and said with a smile, "Miss Xin Ya is here to see Meng Meng, right?" Xin Ya nodded, "Yes, I haven't been here for a few days, so I came here specifically to see it." Bob made a gesture of invitation, and the three of them walked towards the stable. Go into the stable. The pony Meng Meng and the mare sensed Xin Ya's arrival and neighed a few times. Bob said, "They both recognize you and are familiar with your scent." Xin Ya happily walked over and touched them. When she turned around and was about to get hay to feed the horses, she found that there was no hay in the stable. Bober said embarrassedly, "Oh, I forgot to bring in the hay, and I forgot to feed the other horses. I am really old and forgetful." Xin Ya smiled and said, "I often forget things. Since we haven't fed them, let's feed them together. Come on, I'll go and move the hay with you." When he heard that Miss Xin Ya wanted to move the hay with him, Bober immediately stopped him and said, "No, how can you let Miss move it?" At this time, the maid next to him immediately agreed, "Miss, you'd better not go. It's easy to cut your hands when moving those hay. If the fifth master knows, he will scold me again. Let me and Bober go." The maid was particularly afraid that Xin Ya would get hurt, because once the little girl accidentally cut a small cut on her hand, Guangling saw it, and the maid was punished. So in the maid's opinion, this lady must not bump into anything, otherwise she will be punished badly. But in the eyes of Xin Ya, a modern person born on the blue water planet, there is no such class identity. When she was about to say it's okay, let's move together, she saw Bober winking at her secretly. The little girl was immediately delighted. It turned out that the person Qianjun asked to help her leave was Bober. Xin Ya nodded slightly to Bober, and then said to the maid, "Okay, you go, I'll stay here to play with Meng Meng." "Yes." After the maid responded, she turned around and followed Bober out. Chapter 35 Miss Xin Ya is missing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Bob and the maid went out, Xin Ya paced back and forth anxiously waiting. At this time, the pony Meng Meng came over and licked her little hand, and the mother horse also rubbed her head. Looking at the mother and son, she suddenly had the idea of taking the two horses away together. She remembered that the system space had been upgraded with 50 points before, and it can accommodate living things. But horses are relatively large, are you sure they can be put in? Xin Ya's consciousness immediately entered her mind and asked, "System Master, can our system space accommodate horses?" "System, yes, with the current area of the system space, the largest that can be placed is the diamond mammoth. If you want to put a titan ape or a deep-sea demon whale, you need to expand the system area." "System, it takes 50 points to expand the system space by 1 cubic meter. 50 points. It's so expensive. Forget it, I'll expand it when I have points. Now I only have 20 points in total, and I'm so poor." "System, will the host travel far away later?" "Yes, I have to leave Wuhuan City. By the way, do you have something like a map navigation? I want a map of Douluo Continent." "System, there is one in the Points Mall, and 10 points are required for redemption." Xin Ya wanted to cry but had no tears. Just now she said that she was so poor with only 20 points, and now she has to give out 10 points immediately. However, this navigation is also necessary, otherwise she can't tell the east, south, west and north, and how can she know how to leave Wuhuan City? Finally, the little girl said with tears in her eyes, "Then exchange me a map navigation of Douluo Continent." "System, okay, host." Xin Ya's mind made a ding sound. Prompt. The host exchanged a map navigation of Douluo Continent, deducted 10 points, and there are 10 points left. Just when the map navigation was exchanged, Bob walked in with a pile of hay. Xin Ya saw him walk in alone and asked, "Where is the maid?" Bo put down the hay and said with a smile, "I'll let her sleep for a while. She will wake up after you leave." Xin Ya thought for a while and asked worriedly, "If the fifth priest finds out that I'm missing, will he be angry with her and you?" Bo said, "Don't worry about that. The sixth priest said he will protect us then." "That's good." Xin Ya lowered her head. Bob looked at her and asked, "Are you sure you want to leave?" "The sixth priest said you'd better think it over. Also, he asked me to remind you that if the fifth priest finds out you've left, he'll probably go and catch you back, so you have to think it over." Xin Ya nodded. "I know that, he threatened me with that before. Catch them, and talk to me when you find me. By the way, Bob, can I take Meng Meng and her son away?" "Of course." Bo said, "In fact, the day after you named Meng Meng, the fifth priest went to the cavalry registration office to buy Meng Meng and her son. So now they are not war horses but your exclusive mounts, just kept here temporarily." Xin Ya was slightly surprised. "You bought the mare too?" Bo nodded. "Because Miss Xin Ya, you said before that it would be pitiful for Meng Meng to leave the mare when she is still young. Because of what you said, Wu Gongfeng simply bought the mother and child together, so that Meng Meng can always be with the mare." Bobo sighed, to be honest, I have known Wu Gongfeng for a long time. He has always been arrogant and disdains soul masters with lower soul power levels, but he is really good to you. As a bystander, I can see it very clearly. Although I don't know why Miss Xin Ya wants to leave, I still advise you to think it through. Xin Ya lowered her head, and finally raised her eyes and took a deep breath and said, I know, thank you Bob for telling me this, but I still decided to leave. Okay, just think it through yourself. After speaking, Bob turned around and picked up a saddle on the shelf next to him and put it on the mare's back. Ride it, it's faster. As for Meng Meng, Xin Ya said, Meng Meng can be put in my storage soul guide. Bobo asked, can your storage soul guide hold living things? The little girl nodded, then waved her hand at Meng Meng, and the pony disappeared instantly. Then, she turned around and put the hay next to her into the system space. Bobo was surprised and said, storage soul guides that can hold living things are relatively rare, and the price will be more expensive. But your soul guide feels more special. Was it also given by the 5 worshippers? Xin Ya smiled, but did not answer directly, seeing that she seemed unwilling to say more. Bob did not ask any more questions. He led the mare out and handed the reins to the little girl, walked to the southeast of the other side of the forest. Someone will meet you at the end. Thank you, Bob. Xin Ya took the reins and quickly climbed onto the horse's back. She patted the horse's head and said, Ada, let's go out and play. Ada? Bob smiled and said, Miss Xin Ya, is this the name you gave the mare? Xin Ya smiled and nodded. Bob looked at the little girl riding on the horse and asked curiously, why is it called Ada? Because it's cute. The little girl smiled and with a go, Ada galloped forward, leaving the stable and the horse farm where it had lived for a long time, and ran towards the southeast of the forest. After Xin Ya left, Qian Jun walked in from the other side of the horse farm. Bob looked at Xin Ya's back and said, Miss Xin Ya left because she likes freedom. Staying here may make her feel bound, so she doesn't like it. Qian Jun said lightly, maybe. Bob looked at Qian Jun, why don't you tell the 5th Lord to not restrain Miss Xin Ya too much if he catches her back, otherwise she will still run away. Qian Jun smiled bitterly, do you think the 5th brother is a person who will listen to advice? Xiao Ya must say this herself, maybe he will listen. By the way, wait an hour before waking up the maid, so that Xiao Ya can have enough time to leave Wuhuan City. Bob nodded. 1 hour later, the maid woke up and found that Miss Xin Ya was gone. She hurried back to the small hall and told Chen Guanshi about it. Chen Guanshi had just finished dealing with the affairs of the small hall, and he immediately became excited when he heard about it. What? Miss Xin Ya is missing. He grabbed the maid's shoulder and asked, how long has she been missing? The maid recalled and said, it should be more than an hour. More than an hour, you're telling me now? Manager Chen panicked instantly. He let go of the maid and walked quickly towards the worship hall, muttering, it's over, it's over. Chapter 36 If you don't let him chase you, he will be unwilling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the main hall of the enshrinement hall, Guangling and Qian Jun were reporting to Tiandou in the palace what happened at the cavalry and archery registration office this morning. At this moment, Manager Chen ran to the door, and when he was about to go in, he was stopped by the guard. The guard said sternly, the big worshipper, the 5th worshipper, and the 6th worshipper are discussing things, and they are not allowed to enter for the time being. Manager Chen had no choice but to pace anxiously at the door and wait. Half an hour later, after the 3 of them finished talking, Guangling and Qian Jun walked out. Manager Chen immediately stepped forward and said, the master is in trouble, Miss Xin Ya is missing. What? Guangling asked sharply, didn't you ask the maid to follow you? Where did you disappear? Manager Chen said, the maid said that Miss Xin Ya was going to the racecourse this morning to see the pony. Then after arriving at the racecourse, the maid and Bob went to get hay. She fell asleep for some reason, and when she woke up, she heard Uncle Fu say that Miss Xin Ya had left. After listening to Manager Chen's words, Guangling was basically sure that Xin Ya's departure was related to Bobo. When he was about to walk towards the camp, Qian Jun grabbed him from behind and said, you don't have to ask Bob. I asked Bob to help Xiao Ya leave. Guanling instantly glared at Qian-jun angrily. If Qian-jun hadn't been his brother, he would have been shot to death by Guanling's invisible arrow by now. At this moment, Tiandou heard the movement at the door and came out. He looked at Guanling's appearance. Sure enough, Lao Wu is attracted to this little girl. Tiandou walked over and patted Guanling on the shoulder, and persuaded, "Forget it, there is no way this little girl wants to leave. You can tie someone up but you can't tie them up, so why bother?" Qianjun walked over, took out a golden soul coin from his arms, and handed it to Guanling. "Fifth brother, Xiaoya said that he will repay the debt to you. Please take out the deed of betrayal," she wrote. "Pay off the debt," Guanling said disdainfully. "Did I give her that gold soul coin? She wants to leave, there's no way." After saying this, he turned around and walked towards the temple guard knights. Qianjun wanted to stop it. Tiandou said, "Forget it, let him go. If he is not allowed to chase, he will not be willing to do so." Guanling walked up to the captain of the palace guard knights and said, "Come down and give me the horse." The knight captain immediately dismounted respectfully and handed the horse's reins to Wu. Guanling got on his horse and ran down the mountain, leaving Wuhuan City. He didn't know where Xin Ya would go, but his heart told him that he must chase that little girl. Even if she doesn't want to come back with him, he must at least make it clear. Guanling planned to go to Tiandou City to find someone first. He vaguely felt that the little guy would go to Tiandou City. Moreover, the young master of their Wuhuan palace, Shura, is also there, so they can go and seek refuge with the young master first. Other side, after Xin Ya left Wuhuan City, she opened the map navigation. A light curtain appeared in front of her, which only she could see. Xin Ya was riding on horseback, slowly driving Ada forward while drawing the light curtain of the map navigation. "Where should we go?" Suddenly, she remembered that she had not obtained her third soul ring yet, and she plans to sell the soul bone in the system space at the auction. "Okay, it's decided. Go to the Sunset Forest first to obtain the third soul ring and complete the third test of the Shura God test. If you can get the reward of 100,000-year soul bone, sell the soul bone in the system space. If you can't get the reward of 100,000-year soul bone, don't sell it. Just absorb it yourself." After making the decision, Xin Ya said to the light curtain, "Locate the Sunset Forest." The light curtain immediately located the Star Forest, and then planned the optimal route to the Sunset Forest. Wow, this map navigation is exactly the same as Aquamarine's mobile navigation. It's even better than the mobile navigation. I miss it so much. After praising her, she stretched out her hand and patted the horse's head. Let's go to the forest and ride." The horse neighed and galloped forward. After several days of journey, Xin Ya finally arrived at the outskirts of Sunset Forest. She dismounted and took Ada into the system space with a wave of her hand. This system space is more convenient than storing soul guides. It's great. After sighing, the little girl walked into the Sunset Forest. "It was the first time I walked alone in the forest. It was impossible not to be afraid at all, and there will be spirit beasts here." Although Xin Ya knew that her Shura divine sword was very powerful, she could not hide her psychological fear. She looked around warily as she walked. "However, after walking for most of the day, I didn't encounter a single little soul beast. It's so boring." Suddenly, she heard the voices of several people talking not far away. "Dean Erlong, fortunately you took action just in time, otherwise Jingling would have been in trouble. Jingling, you are from the agility attack system. You shouldn't have rushed forward in the situation just now. You should be careful in the future." "Yes, Dean Erlong, I won't do it again in the future. Jiangzhu, please quickly treat Jingling." "Okay. Erlong, Jingling, Jiangzhu. Aren't these all people we know from the original novel?" Xin Ya walked into the grass that was as tall as a person and looked in the direction of the sound. At this time, Lu Erlong was keenly aware of a sound in the grass behind him. She immediately turned around and said, "Who is it? Come out." Xin Ya slowly walked out of the grass. "Hi, hello." Seeing that it was a fair and tender little girl, the 5 people immediately relaxed their vigilance. Lu Erlong's voice also softened and he said, "Hello, little girl. I'm sorry that I sounded a little harsh just now." Xin Ya waved her hand. "It doesn't matter. In such a big forest, if there is a little disturbance, it is understandable that you will be wary. Lu Erlong smiled and took the initiative to step forward and said, "My name is Lu Erlong, and I am the Dean of Lanba Academy. The 4 people behind me are my students. The girl is named Jiangzhu, the big one is named Tai Long, the one with bangs is named Jingling, and the other one is named Huang Yuan." Tai Long was particularly fond of the fair and tender little girl, so he took the initiative and asked, "What's your name?" Xin Ya introduced herself, "My name is Xin Ya." Xin Ya, a nice name. Jiangzhu asked, "Are you here to hunt soul beasts? Do you want to come with us?" Lu Erlong also echoed, "If you are alone, come with us. It will be safer, especially at night. At least there will be boys keeping vigil for you." Tai Long, Jingling and Huang Yuan nodded. Xin Ya thought about it and realized that it was indeed safer to follow the 5 of them than to go alone. She smiled and nodded, "Okay, please take care of me." Jiangzhu took the initiative to hold her arm and said, "No trouble, let's go." The group of people continued walking deeper into the forest. Chapter 37. I am one of the exceptions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Erlong asked Xin Ya as they walked, "Xiaoya, what is your current soul power level?" 37. As soon as Xin Ya finished speaking, the 5 people suddenly stopped and looked at her in disbelief. This little girl looked like she was 12 or 13 years old, while Tai Long, Jiangzhu, Jingling and Huang Yuan were 2 years older than her. Among the 4, Tai Long had the highest soul power level, which was only level 33, but Xin Ya was already level 37. And after absorbing the soul ring, she would break through level 40. She was already level 40 at the age of 12 or 13, they felt like they had seen a ghost. The little girl looked at the 5 people staring at her with a confused look on her face. "Is there something on my face?" Lu Erlong came back to her senses and smiled, "No, we were scared by your soul power level. Have you decided what attribute of soul beast you want? There are quite a lot of 1,000-year soul beasts in Sunset Forest." Xin Ya said indifferently, "Any attribute is fine, as long as it is 10,000 years old." The 5 people stopped and looked at her again. This time their expressions were no longer unbelievable, but shocked. How can the 3rd soul ring absorb 10,000 years? Lu Erlong thought Xin Ya was young and didn't know that the soul ring she absorbed had a time limit. She immediately remembered the theory of the 10-core competitiveness of martial souls proposed by the man she loved, Yu Xiaojiang, and planned to teach the little girl a lesson. She walked over and took Xin Ya's arm, saying as she walked, "Xiaoya, as the Dean of Lan Ba Academy, I am also half a teacher. I have to tell you that there is a time limit for absorbing spirit rings. You can only absorb spirit rings of 100 years below the soul master level, and the maximum cannot exceed 800 years. You can absorb 1,000 years below the soul king level, and the maximum cannot exceed 5,000 years. You want to absorb a 10,000-year spirit ring, you must reach the level of soul king at level 50 before you can absorb it. Also, the attributes. You can get what kind of skills by absorbing a soul beast with what attributes. This is very important. You must choose the right one, not just any one." Xin Ya tilted her head and asked, "Dean Erlong, is the soul ring absorption period you mentioned said by a man named Yu Xiaojiang?" That when the little girl mentioned Yu Xiaojiang's name, Lu Erlong's eyes immediately lit up, and he said with admiration, "Yes, he also came up with a theory of the 10-core competitiveness of martial spirits, and was praised as a master by everyone." Xin Ya asked again, "Then what is the soul power level of this master?" This. When it comes to Yu Xiaojiang's soul power level, Lu Erlong was a little speechless for a while. "He is level 29. Level 29, Xin Ya asked, "Then I am very curious, how can a soul master who is only level 29 verify that the theory he proposed is correct?" Lu Erlong said lightly, "It is the experience gained by predecessors." Xin Ya smiled and said, "The experience gained by predecessors can only be called a summary, not a theory proposed by him personally." "A summary?" Lu Erlong thought about it, and it seemed to make some sense. After shaking her head, she, who always had a hot temper and only liked to do things but not think, could not make sense of it at all and could not refute it. she had to say, even if it is a summary, the experience of our predecessors tells us that there are regulations on the number of years of absorption, and we cannot absorb it randomly. Xin Ya explained. The experience of our predecessors is naturally not wrong, but that can only represent the majority of people. There are exceptions to everything, which does not represent absoluteness. So the theory proposed by Yu Xiaojiang, which you mentioned, is too absolute. After listening to the little girl's words, Lu Erlong frowned and said, even if Xiaojiang's theory is not completely correct, how can you prove that he is definitely wrong? Because I am one of the exceptions. After speaking, Xin Ya stopped and called out her martial spirit. The other 5 looked at her in confusion. However, when they saw the 2 10,000-year soul rings rising from the little girl's feet, they were stunned. Lu Erlong was a little shocked. How is this possible, that the other 4 people also opened their eyes wide? Xin Ya put away her martial spirit and said, so nothing is absolute. And I believe that there should be people like me in the whole continent. Besides, I always think that the predecessors who have cultivated to the Douluo level now must have good talents and abilities. Maybe they can absorb the 10,000-year soul ring when they have the first or second soul ring, but the experience of the predecessors tells them that they can't, so no one dares to try. Because if the absorption fails, they will explode and die, so it's normal that no one dares to try. After all, everyone cherishes their lives. That the little girl's words made the 5 people think deeply. Indeed, no one has ever dared to try before. Lu Erlong came back to her senses from the shock. She grabbed Xin Ya's shoulders excitedly and asked, Xiaoya, how did you have the courage to try? Xin Ya naturally couldn't say that her martial spirit was a divine weapon, so she had to say, it was discovered by chance, and it actually has a lot to do with the martial spirit. Martial spirit. The 5 people looked at each other. When the little girl called for her spirit just now, they all saw that her spirit was a weapon spirit, a sword, but that sword looked quite ordinary, nothing special. Lu Erlong thought about it. Could it be that Xiaoya was a mutated weapon spirit? As far as she knew, there was an elder in the spirit hall, Snake Spear Douluo, who was a mutated weapon spirit. Could it be that Xiaoya's spirit was also the same as the snake spear? But no matter what the reason was, Lu Erlong couldn't figure it out. Isn't Xiaojiang's theory completely correct? The 6 people walked for a long time and only met 2 lightning rabbits that were about 10 years old. They let one go and then secretly followed it to find the rabbit's nest. Finally, I served the rabbit family in one pot, planning to roast the rabbit meat later. Along the way, Lu Erlong discussed many issues about Wuhuan with Xin Ya. The sun sets, the 6 of them found an open space where they could rest at night after dark. Tai Lung's 3 boys raised their knives and sent the rabbit family back to the arms of the rabbit god. Because Xin Ya understood the cooking skills, she offered to roast rabbit for everyone. She also spent 5 points in the system's points mall to redeem a special barbecue seasoning pack and a barbecue rack. After the 3 boys took care of the rabbit family, they handed it over to Xin Ya. The little girl waved her hand, and a pile of condiments and a barbecue rack appeared next to the fire. The other 5 people were extremely curious. Because they have never seen the barbecue grill and some of the seasonings. Lu Erlong asked, Xiaoya, where did you get these things? Xin Ya said, nonsense, I did it myself. After saying this, she picked up the rabbit meat and roasted it on the rack, sprinkling cumin and other condiments on it. Soon, the appetizing aroma of meat hit my nostrils. The 5 people were almost drooling when they looked at the sizzling and oily rabbit meat. 20 minutes later, Xin Ya said, okay, let's start eating. A robbery, especially the 3 boys couldn't control themselves. They had never been so excited when seeing a beautiful girl before. Chapter 39. The 3rd assessment is completed, and the 4th assessment begins. Emerald Bird. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the blood demon orb went offline, Jing Ling immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and began to absorb his 3rd soul ring. The other soul beast, the saber-toothed tiger, did not expect that he was in front of the mantis, and the human mother dragon was behind. Huzi was very unhappy when he saw that the cicada that he was about to get was robbed. And the saber-toothed tiger with 10,000 years of cultivation could resist a little more than the blood demon bead with 1,000 years of cultivation. It roared and rushed towards Lu Erlong. but no matter how strong it was soon beaten into slag by Lu Erlong, the mother dragon. Lu Erlong shouted, "Xiao Ya, I'm almost done." Okay. The little girl immediately called out her martial soul, and the moment she held the magic sword in her hand, her black hair instantly turned silver white. She stood in front of her with the hilt of the sword, and waves of sword energy like a tornado began to swell around the sword. The others stared at Xin Ya in a daze. Suddenly, the sword energy spun rapidly, gradually forming a hurricane of sword intent. At this moment, the saber-toothed tiger, who was beaten to pieces and lying on the ground, suddenly sensed a murderous aura. It struggled to get up and turned around to run. Second soul skill, wind-rising sword intent. The hurricane sword intent took shape, instantly transformed into countless divine sword shadows, locked the target, and flew towards the fleeing saber-toothed tiger at a high speed. Within a few seconds, the saber-toothed tiger was almost turned into tiger sashimi by the materialized sword film. The 5 people were shocked. Xin Ya's sword, which looked so ordinary, was so powerful. Could this be the power of the second soul ring of 10,000 years? After the big tiger was dealt with, Xin Ya put away her martial soul, immediately sat down cross-legged on the spot, and began to absorb the soul ring. Lu Erlong and the other 4 were guarding her and Jingling. Tiandou City, Tiandou Palace. Inside the prince's palace, in the study, a young man who looked about 27 or 28 years old, although not outstanding in appearance, but with regular features, was sitting at a desk and handling government affairs seriously. The young man was dressed in clean noble clothes, giving people a very special temperament. She was the current young master of the Spirit Hall, Qian Renxue, the only daughter of Pope Bibi Dong and the former Pope Qian Xuanji. 20 years ago, she accepted the mission plan to steal the country, killed the young eldest prince of the Tiandou Empire, and then replaced him, disguising herself as the current Prince Xue Qinghe. At this time, Xue Qinghe, who had just finished handling a batch of documents and government affairs, raised his eyes and looked at the silver-haired man sitting on the sofa opposite him, with his hands and feet folded, extremely lazy. He couldn't help but say, "Fifth Lord, I have asked the city gate guards to check everyone who enters and leaves the city gate. But there is still no news, so it's useless even if you come to me every day." Guangling closed his eyes and said, "Young master, you don't have to worry about me. You do your thing. I'll wait for my news. I won't bother you." Xue Qinghe smiled helplessly. "Although you didn't bother me, you sitting here so carelessly affects my attention." Qian Renxue was also helpless after receiving a letter from her grandfather Qian Daolu a few days ago. Even her grandfather couldn't control this fifth lord, let alone her. And she felt that her grandfather didn't want to control it. It happened that the fifth lord was going to come out to find the little girl from the city of slaughter, so he simply threw this difficult fifth lord to her. Xue Qinghe thought for a moment and said, "Fifth priest, have you ever thought about whether the girl is hiding from you on purpose?" Guangling said indifferently, "Then I will find her out even more. She still owes me a debt. You want to hide from me?" "No way," Xue Qinghe frowned. "Hasn't the sixth priest already paid off the girl's debt to you?" "I don't recognize what the sixth priest paid off. I want her to pay it off herself." After saying that, Guangling stood up, walked to the window sill, jumped up, and left the study. The identity of the fifth priest elder of the Spirit Hall cannot be exposed in the Tiandou Palace, so from the day Guangling came to the Tiandou Palace, he entered the prince's palace by walking on the roof and jumping through the window. In Guangling's view, a mere Tiandou Palace is nothing. It can't stop him, a peak Douluo. Qian Renxue looked at the person who came and went several times a day, appearing and disappearing, and she sighed helplessly. She had known Guangling since she was a child, and she had never seen him so persistent. This suddenly made Qian Renxue interested in the little girl named Xin Ya, and Grandpa wrote to say that the little girl is very powerful. If she is really talented, she must be kept. On the other side, in the Sunset Forest, Jingling had absorbed the soul ring an hour ago, but Xin Ya had not yet absorbed it. Tai Long frowned and asked Lu Erlong, "Dean, why did Xiao Ya take so long?" "Nothing will happen, right?" Lu Erlong said, "It shouldn't be. She has absorbed the first and second rings for 10,000 years before, and the third ring will be even better." Jiang Zhu also agreed. After all, it is a 10,000-year soul ring, so it is reasonable to be a little longer than Jingling. At this time, Xin Ya had actually just absorbed the soul ring. The reason why she hadn't opened her eyes was because after absorbing the third soul ring, her soul power level was raised to level 41, and she had completed the third assessment of the Shura God's residence, so her consciousness entered the void space of the Shura God again. At this time, the figure of Shura God appeared. Little girl, congratulations on completing the third test of the God test, but since the soul beast was not hunted by yourself, I can only reward you with a soul power level increase of 1 level. But you performed very well when absorbing the soul ring, so I will still reward you with a 100,000-year-old left leg soul bone. Xin Ya felt that the reward of increasing 1 level was not bad. There are people to help hunt this soul beast, why do you have to do it yourself? You must be a salted fish to the end. The most important thing is that the 100,000-year soul bone is still rewarded, she immediately said happily, thank you, Lord Shura God. Shura God didn't know the little tricks in the girl's mind, he said and continued, since the third assessment is completed, let's start the fourth assessment now. The fourth assessment requires you to increase your soul power level to level 60 and kill an evil emerald demon bird. Xin Ya frowned, emerald demon bird, Shura God explained, emerald demon bird is one of the most cruel bird soul beasts. They feed on the brains of humans or soul beasts and are gregarious soul beasts. They are extremely fast, like lightning. In ancient times, a group of emerald demon birds flew over, and all creatures had holes in their heads and no brains. Hiss. Hearing this, Xin Ya took a breath. The little girl touched her head in fear, oh my God, there is no brain marrow. How did such an evil bird grow up? Shura God said, it is said that a green demon bird king once sucked the brain marrow of a real dragon, and then continued to evolve, and finally became the most terrifying killer. Because of this, they were once hunted by the dragon clan. Also, there was an action to eliminate the green demon bird in the soul beast world, so this kind of soul beast has been killed almost, and there should not be many who can survive. Chapter 40 When entering Tiandou City, there is a check. Why does it feel like they are looking for? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xin Ya wailed immediately, if there are not many left, how can I find them to complete the fourth assessment? Shura God said, that's something you have to think about yourself, I can't help you. But because it is the emerald demon bird that needs to be killed, the deadline for the fourth assessment can be slightly extended for you, and it can be completed within 3 years. If you can't complete it, you will have only one way to die, work hard, my successor. After the words fell, Shura God disappeared on the spot. After hearing his words, Xin Ya was depressed to death. Although the deadline was extended to 3 years, this emerald demon bird has experienced 2 large-scale encirclements from ancient times to the present, and there are not many left. Where can I find it? Xin Ya's consciousness shouted in her mind, System, do you know where the emerald demon bird is? System, host, the map navigation can definitely help you find it. But as far as this system knows, once this bird appears, it must be at the level of 100,000 years. System, so if the host wants to find it, your map navigation must be upgraded to find this bird. The little girl rolled her eyes and asked, if the map navigation is to be upgraded, does my soul power level have to be upgraded as well? System, yes, host. Then how many levels of map navigation can be upgraded? System, level 50. That's no problem. Anyway, my fourth assessment requires a soul power level of 60. Wait until my soul power level is upgraded to level 50, then upgrade the map navigation and then go find that annoying bad bird. Anyway, there are 3 years, and I can still be a salted fish for 2 years. There's no rush, system, host, just think about it, don't die in the assessment. Before you complete the task assessment, this system is bound to you. Once you die, this system will be destroyed. If I die, don't you have a chance to return to the factory? System, only after you complete the rebirth assessment task, this system will have the opportunity to choose to unbind and return to the factory. If this system chooses not to unbind, it will be bound to the host forever. Forever, Xin Ya sighed, forever is too far away, let's just live with the salted fish in front of us first. She thought of what the system said just now, that once the emerald demon bird appears, it must be at the 100,000-year level, so we need to find a Douluo level person to help. When she thought of the Douluo level, the silver-haired figure automatically appeared in Xin Ya's mind. The little girl hugged her head suddenly. Oh, why did I think of that arrogant monster again? I obviously hate him bullying me, why do I always think of him? Go away, you arrogant monster, don't appear in my mind, it's so annoying. Xin Ya stretched out her hands and waved the air, trying to drive Guangling out of her mind, but when she stretched out her little hand, she hit the faces of the 3 boys. 10 minutes ago, the 5 people outside saw that although the little girl closed her eyes, her expression was colorful, so Tai Long, Jingling and Huang Yuan were curiously leaning over to look. Suddenly, she stretched out her hands and waved them at the faces of the 3 boys. After Xin Ya felt that she had hit someone, she immediately opened her eyes and saw the 3 boys covering their cheeks and looking at her aggrievedly. She immediately stood up and said embarrassedly, "Sorry, I just thought of something, so I stretched out my hand unconsciously. I didn't know I would hit you." Tai Long waved his hand and said, "It's okay, it's just a slap. I'm thick-skinned and it doesn't hurt much." Jingling and Huang Yuan also waved their hands to show that they were fine. Lu Erlong and Jiang Zhu covered their lips and laughed. Tai Long asked Xin Ya, "Sister Xiaoya, did you absorb the 3rd soul ring successfully?" "What is the soul skill?" Xin Ya nodded, the absorption was successful. The 3rd soul skill is called Sword Shadow Shuttle. With the ability to fly with a sword, you can instantly shuttle to the opponent and kill him. Tai Long gave a thumbs up, it looks very powerful. The 5 people looked at each other and nodded. Lu Erlong said, "We have obtained the soul rings, and we have to go back." "Where are you going, Xiaoya? Do you want to come to our Blue Tyrant Academy?" Xin Ya said, "I do have to go to Tiandou City to do something." Jiang Zhu went over and took her hand and said, "Then let's go together. You can live in the student dormitory of our Blue Tyrant Academy, right, Dean?" Lu Erlong responded, "Yes, it's better to live in the host of the academy than to live in a hotel as a girl, which is unsafe and expensive." Xin Ya thought about it and felt that Lu Erlong was right. After all, the hotel room rates outside are quite expensive, at least more expensive than those on Shuelan Star. Before, she had spent a total of 30 gold soul coins on accommodation and meals in the town she passed through from Wuhuan City to Sunset Forest. At that time, she wanted to borrow only 10 gold soul coins, but fortunately Qian Jun gave her 50, otherwise she couldn't even reach Sunset Forest. Xin Ya said, "Okay, then I'll go with you. Let's go." The few of them left Sunset Forest happily together. After they walked out of the forest, their carriage was parked outside. After getting on the carriage, Tai Long was in charge of driving the carriage, and the carriage drove towards Tiandou City. Tiandou City was relatively close to the Sunset Forest, so they returned to the city quickly. When entering the city gate, because the guards guarding the city had to strictly check people entering and leaving the city, there was a long queue at the city gate. In the carriage, Lu Erlong looked out of the car window and saw that even though he saw the team leader, the interrogation progress was still slow. She didn't have any patience, so she began to mutter, "Usually, the guards who enter the city just take a casual look, but for some reason these days, the interrogation is suddenly very strict." Tai Lung, who was sitting outside catching the bus, also echoed, "That's right. And everyone entering and leaving the city must register their name and age. One by one. Also, those who enter the city are asked where they are from, and those who leave the city are asked where they are going." "I don't know what to do with these questions." Jiang Zhu frowned and said, "Why do I have a feeling that they seem to be looking for someone?" "Looking for someone?" Lu Erlong touched his chin and said, "What you said seems to be true." At this time, Xin Ya didn't hear what they said at all, because she was sleeping soundly against the side of the carriage. The 5 of them continued chatting in the carriage. Half an hour later, at last it was their carriage's turn to enter the city. After the captain of the guard guarding the city asked Tai Long, he walked to the car window and asked several other people. After registering, the guard captain saw Xin Ya sleeping in the innermost room. He raised his chin and asked, "Where's her? What's her name?" Jiangzhu said, "Her name is Xin Ya." When the captain lowered his head and was about to write his name, he suddenly reacted and suddenly raised his head to look at the sleeping little girl. Chapter 41 Found the Little Girl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The captain of the guard's reaction puzzled the rest of the people in the carriage. Lu Erlong frowned. Is there any problem with her name being Xin Ya? The captain of the guards remembered that the notice from above said that if a girl named Xin Ya was found, he must not alert the enemy, he must not scare her away, just register her situation and report it. Thinking of this, the captain of the guards immediately restrained his gaze and said, "Nothing, can you wake up the girl and ask her?" Lu Erlong also thought it would be better to wake Xin Ya. She touched the girl's head and called softly, "Xiaoya is up, Xiaoya." Xin Ya woke up dazedly when she heard the voice, rubbing her eyes and asked, "What's wrong with Dean Erlong?" Lu Erlong explained, "We are now at the gate of Tiandou City, and the guards guarding the city are going to conduct inspections and registrations." Xin Ya asked dazedly, "What are you going to check?" At this time, the captain of the guard standing by the window saw the little girl wake up, and his eyes immediately brightened. He smiled kindly and said, "Little girl, I am the captain of the guards guarding the city. I just want to ask a few questions. It will be quick." Xin Ya said obediently, "Then ask." The captain of the guards changed his attitude 180 degrees when facing Xin Ya, which made the others feel very strange. But after all, he was the one guarding the city, directly under the jurisdiction of the royal family of the Tiandou Empire. Although Lu Erlong and others were confused, they did not dare to say anything. After hearing that Xin Ya agreed to the interrogation, the captain of the guards asked, "Little girl, is your name Xin Ya?" Xin Ya nodded. The captain asked again, "How old are you? Where did you come from?" Xin Ya said, 12 years old, I came from Wuhuan City." The captain of the guards immediately registered one by one. Lu Erlong asked, "Brother guard, if there are no questions, can we enter the city?" After the captain of the guards registered, he said, "You can enter the city." After he finished speaking, he immediately stepped back a few steps, raised his hand to his subordinates, and signaled to let them go. The carriage slowly drove into the city gate. After they left, the captain of the guards immediately took out the notification information issued above for comparison. Her name was Xin Ya, a little girl of 12 or 13 years old, who came from Wuhuan City. There was also a portrait attached to it. This portrait was drawn by Guangling himself and given to Qian Renxue. The portrait was almost 9 points similar to Xin Ya herself. Qian Renxue was surprised when she saw the portrait at that time. She never knew that the Fifth Lord's painting ability was so strong. Although Qian Renxue had never seen Xin Ya, she could tell from the portrait that she was a soft and tender little girl. At that time, Qian Renxue was thinking that the Fifth Lord liked this kind of little white rabbit type. Is it because she can let him bully her? Thinking of this, she couldn't help laughing. After comparing the information and the portrait, the captain of the guard said excitedly, "Yes, it's this little girl." He immediately said to his subordinates around him, "The reward for finding people this time belongs to our third team." Several other subordinates grinned happily. After all, the reward for finding someone this time is 100 gold soul coins, and each of the 10 of them can get 10 gold soul coins. The monthly salary of a guard is 1 silver soul coin. If it weren't for the 100 gold soul coins, these guards who guard the city would not be so active. The captain of the guards gave an order and said, "From now on, people entering and leaving the city don't need to be strictly checked anymore, just restore the usual basic inspections. Also, you all remember this little girl. If you see her leaving the city, stop her immediately." "Yes." The other 9 subordinates responded in unison. The captain of the guard said to the deputy captain, "You watch here, I'm going to the palace to report." After saying that, he turned around and quickly rode on the horse beside him and ran towards the Tiandou Palace. Inside the Tiandou Palace, Prince Xue Qinghe was coming out of the palace of Emperor Shuiyi. The captain of the first team of the Imperial Guard stationed at the prince's palace came forward to report, "Your Highness, the captain of the third team of the city gate guards just reported that the little girl was found." Xue Qinghe's eyes lit up. "Is she going into the city or out of the city?" "Into the city." The captain of the first team continued to report, "The little girl was interrogated by our guards when she entered the city. She was sitting in a carriage at the time." The people accompanying her were all from the Blue Tyrant Academy. One of them was the dean of the Blue Tyrant Academy, named Lu Erlong. The captain of the guard said that Lu Erlong took her 4 students to the Sunset Forest to hunt soul beasts the day before yesterday. When they left the city, there was no little girl that your highness was looking for, so they should have met her in the Sunset Forest. Xue Qinghe smiled and said, "It turns out that she went to the Sunset Forest. No wonder there has been no trace of her in the past few days." After thinking for a while, he took out his personal token and handed it to the captain of the first team. "Take my token to the Imperial City Hotel and give it to the guest in the luxury suite, and ask him to go to the Blue Tyrant Academy." "Yes." The captain of the first team took the token and turned to leave the palace. The 50 guards who were now in charge of guarding the prince's palace had already been replaced by Qian Renxue as her confidants. After the captain of the first team left, Qian Renxue thought about it and decided to go to Lamba Academy in person because she was afraid that the 5th worshipper would do something wrong. She turned to the deputy captain of the first team and said, "Prepare the carriage and go to Lamba Academy." The deputy captain nodded and turned to leave. On the other side, Xin Ya and his carriage went all the way to Lamba Academy in the city. The little girl didn't know that as soon as their carriage entered the city, the strict inspection at the city gate was immediately lifted. At this time, she was refreshed after a good sleep, and was happily lying by the window to watch the prosperity and bustle of Tiandou City, the capital of the Tiandou Empire. Suddenly, Xin Ya saw a very strange building. Not far away. It was round and like half a ball hanging on the ground, and there was a hammer pattern on the top of the building, auction house. Her eyes suddenly brightened, and she turned to Lu Erlong and said, "Dean Erlong, can I get off here? I have something to do." Lu Erlong smiled and said, "Of course, you can come to Lamba Academy to find me after you finish your business. I will tell the guards later." Xin Ya smiled and nodded, "Okay." Tyrone stopped the carriage, and after she got off the carriage continued to go to Lamba Academy. The little girl waited for the carriage to go away, and then walked quickly towards the auction house. The door of the auction house. 4 tall girls stood there, and suddenly saw a little girl walking towards them. The leading girl frowned slightly, and she stepped forward and said, "Little girl, this is an auction house, and you need to have bidding qualification certification to enter." Xin Ya said, "I know, but I'm not here to bid, I'm here to sell things." The leading girl heard that the little girl was here to sell things, and her eyebrows raised slightly. "Excuse me, what are you selling?" Xin Ya said, "Take me to see your appraiser, it's not convenient to take out the things I want to sell here." The leading girl immediately smiled and made a gesture of invitation, "Please." After the words fell, she took small steps and walked into the auction house. Xin Ya nodded, put her hands behind her back, and followed the little girl into the room. Shu started the 3rd round of PK today. Thank you to everyone who has rewarded and voted for me in the past few days. Your support and love have allowed Shu to advance smoothly. Thank you very much. Once the 3rd round is passed, you can complete the game. Dear friends who like this book, please bless me to complete the game. Love you guys, moi.